Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Ufta, for the 21 months. We are finally doing the Priest of Felrites version of Goryo's. We've been, like, theory crafting this for a long time, although, like, 9 times out of 10, I'm asked, hey, Spike, what do you think about Tyvar with Priest of Felrites and Reanimator? And I'm like, well, it's really close. It's like you have 2 good Reanimator creatures with Tyvar. You have Jace Friend's Prodigy and Priest of Felrites. The problem is, like, you need, like, I think minimum 12 creatures, ideally, like, a lot more that work with Tyvar for you to play, like, 4 copies of that card in your modern deck. It is really nice that it mills 3 when you minus, but the +1 is also not that relevant in these decks. I'm just kind of stuck on it. And after, like, but, you know, of course, giving Priest of Felrites haste is a really valuable thing. This is, like, a powerful reanimation effect that always struggles because it just has summoning sickness in the modern format. But Nahiri also gives Tyvar... It also zeros to bring back a Priest of Felrites and give it haste. But Nahiri zeros instead of -2s. And Nahiri is also a looting effect. And Nahiri is also... also protects herself. She's card advantage when your opponent has Leyline of the Void in play. She just does it better than Tyvar does in this shell. And what's kind of cool too, and I didn't realize this until I saw Cube April's tweet yesterday, but yeah, Bitter Reunion also gives your Priest of Felrites haste. You can go turn 2 Bitter Reunion, turn 3 Priest activate, and having discarded something big to your Bitter Union on turn 2. This probably goes a little bit without saying, but having 8 premium reanimation spells gives you like a really, really big added degree of consistency here. It is true that with fewer 2-mana looting effects, you're going to have more turn 4 Atraxas in Griselbrands than turn 3 ones compared to the Esper version, but I think you kind of make up with that because you have Seasoned Pyromancer, which stabilizes a bit more, and the Nahiri lets you play a little bit of a longer game, and you still have, you know, lots of cheap removal. I do think that, like, as good as Leyline Binding is, it is not a mandatory card, and I think you could still play the Domain mana base and play Leyline Binding over Prismatic Ending, but you know you're also losing your Shadow Prophecies because I think Seasoned Pyromancer Nahiri is better, so I'm kind of just trying the old Prismatic Ending version. But I want to note that this could just be a Domain mana base with Prismatic Endings instead, or sorry, Leyline Bindings instead. Let's go ahead and get some games going. I think the list looks really clean, really straightforward. And I think there's... I didn't play... Oh, wrong. I think I joined the backup deck. I think there's a lot of... there's a good chance that this is the best Goryo's variant. That this is better than the Esper version we've been playing. Oh, the variance is really, really, really high, which is also why it gets like extra under my skin that someone's like, oh, one start with Reanimator. It's just the variance in these decks are super high. When you're drawing well, you like can't lose to anything, and when you're drawing poorly, you can't beat anything, and that's okay. There's just like decks in Magic that are like this, and I don't mind playing them. I think the Hands of Mulligan, although kind of close. There are decks like this in Magic, and I don't mind playing them, but it's just something that's really important to remember. And so like even like the Asthma version that won the challenge, like, you know, like I do think proves that this archetype is playable. I think I'm actually putting back a land here on the draw because I really need Solitude. I want to keep Solitude, White Card, Ephemerate, Seasoned Pyromancer. But like even that Goryo's version, like I really strongly think that Griselbrand is better than Atraxa in that deck because you don't have any flicker effects. I could just be wrong also, but I also like I don't know how many people have been playing the deck and like can like form an argument saying like that Atraxa is better or worse, and like does the life loss from Griselbrand matter that much? Maybe it does. I would certainly be interested in hearing some thoughts on the matter. Traz, 25 months, thank you. Hope you're doing well. Through the Breach just too slow. Seems cool with Atraxa, but I guess Emrakul is better than that. Through the Breach is a pretty slow card. It's not terrible with Atraxa, but you know, would prefer to be cheating and play with these 2-mana spells instead. Blue-black, Tainted Indulgence. So we're playing a Reanimator mirror, huh? So they're playing the Esper-based version. Yeah, and so that's why in these Goryo's decks, like the Ephemerates, like because you're playing Grief Solitude, which are also a very good card, the Ephemerates are really nice. I do think Atraxa is better than Griselbrand, and again, in this kind of shell, for sure. How's Nahiri been? Good. I don't know. So it's Nahiri's like... People always put so much pressure on 3-4 mana cards to like just blow you away, and like they want Oko Uro level power level cards, which like just like don't exist anymore really. But like at the end of the day, this card is like the best in slot when you're curving out. It works super well with Priest. It is good against Graveyard Hate because it gives you some amount of card selection, card filtering, different angle of attack. There's a lot going on for it that is like really, really good and important. What's the reason to drop a league off with bad start? I think it's bad EV to play at 1-2 in general. Like I would rather start off 2-0 than like finish a league at 3-2. And it's also like the quality of decks drops off a lot when you're in the 1-2 bracket in general, so I don't like to play there as much. And then it's also true that the stream is less exciting when we're 1 and 2. So it's just kind of a combination of all those things. I thought the Breach Shells back in the day just control decks with a combo kill. Yeah, that is true. I think like it would be interesting to see through the Breach Atraxa control. You know, one big issue with Through the Breach Emrakul is that Solitude and Leyline Binding destroy you, but that's not so true with Atraxa. So you could do something like, you know, you could play... okay, one issue with playing Fury, because in theory you'd want to play Fury, Solitude, Ephemerate, but Atraxa doesn't pitch to Fury. It's kind of an issue. But like Through the Breach does, which is something you'd probably be somewhat interested in. Okay, well I think it's just kind of an easy Solitude here. Do I play prelims? I think that's the best place to test brews, in my opinion. I don't play prelims on stream because they're really bad for the pace of streams. I also think that there's like different like levels of playtesting. I think prelims are good for playtesting after like several reps and you have like a better idea of how things are performing. Bomber never drew third land. Well, we'll see. I think that like you start with leagues, then you go into prelims, but also like prelims are just like a total of, it's like an hour 20 minutes of, it's like an hour of dead air because it's in between 3 rounds you have like 20 minutes on average, maybe more even because I play pretty quickly, of just like dead air and sitting there waiting for the next round. Maybe you can double queuing is tough, it's hard to follow, and then like when you're double queuing on stream is tough. So like that's why I don't play prelims on stream. I play challenges sometimes, but it's just like bad for the pace of play. What do you think is the most promising brew I've had post 1? Good question. I have 7 trophies this season. Dark Souls running between, but I get it. Yeah, but I don't know. That's not a good plan either. It's just it is what it is. It is what it is. You know, it's like Dark Souls running between. We're losing like 600 viewers in between every round of the prelim. It's just not good for the pace of the stream. Okay, so we trophied with elves. I'm not big believing in elves comeback at the moment, but we did trophy with it. Cottage Blast was pretty promising. I think that there's still more room for all will be 1 variants. We trophied with the green-red one. We 4-1'd our only league with the 4-1'd our only league with the mono-red one. Might play some more of that. I really think the Tyvar Goblins deck. I thought that this deck was like really, really good. I want to return to it too. The Tyvar Sacrifice deck was good. We were like 8-2 with that. We trophied with it. I've returned to it. We trophied with the Boros Lotus Field. Definitely a high variance deck. Okay, if we could draw a land, we could put a Griselbrand into play. Weird game, but you know this is both Reanimator variants on their lower end of variance here. Okay, not a land, but the best card in Modern, Bitter Reunion. Yeah, I really want to play Walls. Walls is like soft backup deck for a few days. Well, I think so. Like, although I will say that like, is this only as a sorcery? Okay, so I can't respond to get a Solitude. I will say like the wall deck my main thinking was that like Mill and Titan was like were so popular that I didn't really want to play Walls, even though it was promising. And then like yesterday, Titan's just like back again. I don't know. Maybe it's just like a weird sample size. Still working on Is It Hellraiser? Oh yeah, I think that like that kind of stinks too. Like the Hellraiser control deck, I think was like really good and had a lot of promise. And just like unfortunately, I'm like just not able to play the same deck on stream. Like two streams in a row, even like the views just like crash. Okay, I think we just have to take the Faithful Bending because all I need to do is stop them from drawing a relevant card right now. I've just noticed that a lot lately. Even two streams in a row of the same deck is just bad. I thought I could do it last week with the Cottage Blast deck, but I think playing something new every day, maybe returning to stuff later is fine. But like, I don't know. I would have loved to play like a whole week of that Hellraiser control deck. I'll return to it at some point for sure. Like, you know, this like the tentative structure is like when the brews are flowing like this, just continue playing something new every day. And then when I get a little stuck, I can return to some of the other stuff. And we'll have a lot to return to for sure. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I don't know. If I really want to play a deck too, I'll play some more of it. But it's also like it's not like we had nothing to do after the Hellraiser control deck. I'm really proud of where the stream has been the last month or so. I feel like the brews have been like at an all-time high in quality. How many Solitudes do I have? I have 2. I guess I can pitch 1 right now. Any spells you cast off Hellraiser and Lotus Field? Or is Amaria's Call the best? Well, Amaria's Call is the best. There are other options, though. So I'm gonna go Nahiri. Oh, my priest got exiled. Dang it. I don't know why I thought I had a priest in the yard. How do I not have... How do I not have anything good to do here? Am I really just like... Seasoned Pyromancer haste? I guess so. I really need to keep the Solitude up, too. Nahiri Grief. Nahiri Grief, yeah, I guess Nahiri Grief also kills the Teferi. Maybe that was better. But I'm also like, I also kind of want to Seasoned Pyromancer so I can dig deeper for a reanimation effect. Like now I can go Bitter Reunion Priest next turn. Although it puts me down to 1. You didn't sack the priest when I targeted by the Solitude, despite saying you could do it at instant speed. No, you misheard me, or I misspoke. Something happened. You can only sacrifice priest at sorcery speed. So either I misspoke or you misheard me, but it was not a legal line. So we're going down to a healthy and happy 1 life. Now we need Nahiri Grief? Alright, definitely not. Let's put an Atraxa into play. Grief. Ephemerate Ending. Godless Shrine. Do I not have a black card? Oh, I don't have a black card. Take Solitude. Now, Bitter Reading doesn't give you haste until the end of turn, which kind of stinks. So we have 10 cards, discarding 3, probably... These 3? Yeah, you're good. You're good, Sparrow. You're good. No worries. Toaster, 12 months. Thank you. You're doing well. Yeah, opponent's draw has been like just really, really unlucky. But again, this is what it's like to play a Reanimator deck. Like you just run hot, you run cold, and that's okay. There are a lot of decks in Magic that are like this. You can run super hot and just like crush, which is like, you know, to some extent it's something you need to do with any deck. Like you can't win any tournament without like a degree of luck, but it's just like a lot more pronounced in this variant. Opponent's aligned to Teferi, Bounce, Atraxa, and Goryo. Thoughts on Solitude or Atraxa if they cast a Teferi? Probably correct. Any chance we could get a greatest hit stream where you play some of your favorite OG decks just see how they hold up? I mean, not very likely. Like, that's not the kind of content I'm super interested in. Like the content where it's like, all right, this deck is old and bad and out of date. Let's see if it is any good. And then at the end of the stream, you just always go, oh, it turns out this deck sucks now. Thanks, Modern Horizons 2. It's just not for me, I think. So I hit Solitude and Leyline Binding in a land, so I can Binding my Atraxa. Quite the game. I think framing makes a huge difference. Like if it's much more fun, you're celebrating a deck. Yeah, I agree that like the framing makes a difference, but the framing is also boring to me. It's like, you know what I mean? I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in playing old and out of date decks that I know are old and out of date. And if I think that an old deck has promise, I work on it some more. You know what I mean? It's to me that kind of content is just not very interesting. No domain. Oh, I thought for sure at this point in the game they would have had domain. Yeah, good point. Powers for Muncie, thank you. How's Elden Ring? Goated as always. So they're gonna Solitude my. So yeah, they put Delta Vengeance Solitude Binding. So they're gonna Solitude Pitch Binding on Atraxa. I don't know why they would wait, because now they're just opening themselves up to Ephemerate. Do you agree with Mingy that Murktide is the best deck in Modern? I don't know. I guess. At the very least, I think it's like hard to like seriously argue that there is a de facto best deck. I mean, you can argue it, of course. You can argue anything. But I guess what I'm really saying is, I think that the margins between decks in Modern are too close to like say definitively that there is a best deck. I think that the win rates, the margins, like it's so narrow between like 5 or 6 decks. And then there are some decks that are really, really hard to evaluate how competitive they are because either the skill ceiling on them is really high, and when the best players play them, their win rates are like much higher than when like less experienced players play them, like Titan. Like evaluating Titan's win rate is how is their hand 2 Goryo? That's so funny. The second Goryo's is kind of tricky here. I guess I could just Nahiri the Grief though. And then so some decks have like a really high skill ceiling, so like evaluating them is very difficult, and I think Titan's a good example of that. And then some decks have a very small sample size, and so evaluating how good they are overall is very tough as well. And so like the biggest thing Murktide has going for it is a huge sample size. It's the most popular deck in the format, and so it's like much easier to evaluate. And the best players, of course, do better too. Nahiri before combat with Ephemerate too. Okay, just all the backseating today. I usually don't mind it so much, but just let me play the games, please. Just let me play the games. I know I could have Nahiri before combat, but I just kind of wanted to let them, make the first move here. I wasn't sure that I wanted to Nahiri the Grieve. Dude, they drew another Goryos. What a game. I don't know if I guess they only have 12 cards in their library. What a weird game. We won 2 to first league. We lost to Titan twice in a row with kind of clunky draws. It is what it is. The mirror. Well, they're playing the Esper based version. It's not exactly a mirror. You're good. It's okay, Panda. It's okay. I'm not upset. It's just in general. Today's been a lot already. So just, you know, setting up boundary, I guess. No, I'm not playing Leyline in my sideboard. I feel like there's a good chance they're playing Leyline. Yeah, I'm not playing Fable. I think Fable's worse than Nahiri and Spyro in this deck. Nahiri giving haste to Priest is just so key. You just can't play more than, like, you know, 7 or 8 of these effects. Seasoned Pyromancer is better with, you know, Nahiri and Priest and Ephemerate. And it's kind of like generally a better card. It's very close. I think I'd play like 2 Wear Tears. I think we trim the 4th copy of Solitude. 2 Spyro? What's the coolest thing you can do with Thrilling Discovery? The coolest thing you can do with Thrilling Discovery is discard another copy of Thrilling Discovery. They do have Leylines, so I'm glad I have a couple of copies of Wear Tear to draw 2. Don't think I'm going to just slam the Grief here, though. Do you think Moto's hostile to Burn in Modern, like playing Legion Challenge is not a good choice? I don't know. So, like, I think that Burn has, like, for the entirety of Modern's history, always been a mediocre choice for a tournament. Where, like, Burn is a very consistent deck, but it's very consistent at, like, losing to itself, like, 2 out of 9 matches. It's really consistent at just getting mana flooded and mana screwed enough times that it just ends up being, like, a little awkward, if that makes sense. Okay, probably not taking Atraxa, definitely taking the Indulgence. Does that make sense? The deck is very consistent at just like flooding or screwing it, and not winning a tournament. That being said, I think that Burn, if you like spent time, mastered Burn, tuned your sideboard, I think that you would very likely have a winning record in Modern leagues at the moment. I don't think it would be too difficult to say that you could have a winning record in Modern leagues with Burn at the moment. I also would not say that the Modern metagame as a whole is hostile to Burn, since I think very, very few people have dedicated sideboard cards for it at the moment. They can cast their Binding, right? This is... it's only 3 types. So if they draw Ephemerate, if I take Binding and they draw Ephemerate, it's kind of bad. But then they would have to pitch Atraxa. Their hand doesn't do almost anything. So I think I would be okay with that. And then if they don't draw exactly Ephemerate, then I just like can grief the Solitude next turn. Is there a way to fix that? Create the best deck in Modern's history? Yeah, when you played Cruise, it was a bit interesting. It's also not Flood. It's like Mana Screw too, because you have to keep like there's like a decent number of 1-landers you have to keep as Burn that just don't get there. The Canopy lands help for sure, but they don't solve the problem. The Canopy lands help a lot. Do you think Hardened Scales falls under the same umbrella, or do you think it's been pushed out of the Modern format? So I think Hardened Scales is like Titan. It's the Titan effect, but even more pronounced, where like Scales and Titan are 2 of the hardest decks to play in Modern. Sorry, Blue-White Control players. They're 2 of the hardest decks to play in the format, and they are very hard to evaluate how well positioned they are, because they are like this, like they're like. So again, this is what we're talking about when we're evaluating the best deck. Some decks in Modern are hard to evaluate because the skill ceiling is so high. The best Hardened Scales players and the best Titan players win so much more than the worst Scales players and the worst Titan players. The win percentage is just so different. And the same is true for decks that are not very popular, decks that have a very small sample size in their tournaments. I think that Prowess is starting to see a lot more play, and so we're getting a bigger sample size, and it's winning a lot. Rhinos is seeing more play, it's winning a lot. But, you know, decks that are, like, 8 Blast is a good example of a deck that, like, only a few people were on, but were winning a lot, but, like, evaluating it overall is kind of tough. And then Scales has both problems, in that it's both, it's harder than Titan to play. It's one, you could make a good argument that's the hardest deck in Modern to play, and it's also not a very popular choice. Because they just don't play that many looting effects. I mean, they have to draw both blue mana and looting effect was really the thing. So like the Goryos didn't do anything. I want to keep playing so that we can theoretically be better against Blood Moon. Is there a control deck idea with Atraxa? I guess. It doesn't sound like you missed it, or maybe, I don't know. Maybe. We were talking about it, so like, Through the Breach Emrakul was a, you know, control plan for a while, and I do think that, like, Through the Breach Atraxa could be better in a control shell, potentially. Okay, I guess let's go Solitude or Brief Ephemerate here. I'm not saying this is definitely the case, or even, like, likely the case, but could be the case. And at the very least, like, you're not super weak to Matter Reshaper. You're not super weak to Leyline Binding and Solitude like you are with Through the Breach Emrakul. And like just hard casting Atraxa in your like your control deck is kind of interesting too. So I might try to build that like 4 Through the Breach, 4 Atraxa, 4 Solitude. Wouldn't we see more Scales, 5-0s, or challenge results then? No, because it's just so unpopular. Like, almost nobody plays the deck because it's so difficult to play. I promise you, I promise you Scales is really, really good. I don't know. Maybe you would see, I don't know. This is like something that I've like really come to understand a lot lately, and it's kind of hard to articulate even. But there just like aren't that many modern players. You know what I mean? There just aren't that many modern players compared to like the size and like diversity and possibilities of the format. Like, there is a reason I'm able to come here every single day and play a deck you've never seen and, you know, have a winning record with it most of the time. It's because there are not very many modern players and there's not very many people working on decks compared to the possibilities that exist in the format. I guess I knew their hand is empty. I shouldn't have Ephemerate here. Yeah, but yeah, Modern is also full of players who are like, I'm not, Titan is bad. It's poorly positioned. I don't know.
Lucy with you? No?
You had a Saga instead of Tron? It's so weird. I think we discard the Priest because we can haste the Priest if we need to. Attack with these two. I don't know why they didn't get Tron with the Ballista in play. That's just kind of weird. Modern has the most competitive players. Turns out competitive formats are really niche compared to the card pool. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. It's just like, yeah. I'm not saying that there aren't people playing. There are people playing them, but there just aren't that many compared to like the possibilities that are out there. I ask you because I believe what's missing control for being tier 1 is some inevitability. I don't know. I don't know that that's the word I would use exactly, but I agree that like Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, and like Jace the Mind Sculptor have been underwhelming lately, and a different route is kind of interesting. Think we should stop watching as much Modern? I think you should watch as much as possible. I don't know. I will say this too, and this is like also why the stream is like successful and like why I'm able to do what I do is people also don't like to brew very much. People would prefer to just, like, you know, copy a list, and there's nothing wrong with that. I guess we just force them to Ballista here. There's nothing wrong with just wanting to copy a list, but people would prefer to copy a list than spend time tuning a deck. Although I will say this chat like definitely has a higher proportion of people who are interested in brewing than people who aren't. Okay, so I think I'm gonna Priest Grief here. One loyalty short of just getting back Grief, in case you're wondering why. It has to be less than. Oh, sorry, dude. They still have the Blaststone and Temple in their hand. I should have obviously known that. I don't know how. I just keep thinking. So many draws have happened, and they just keep drawing and playing Urza's Tower. I'm just like, surely they have a spell in there. So I guess I'm supposed to loot instead. I played today so bad, but my mental state is, you know, rapidly deteriorating. The main problem is not brewing; it's test that brew. Yeah, it's time consuming for sure. Things been expensive, but it's also a big important part of the brewing process. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I do this. It's maybe a little bit undersaid, but it's hard to stream and play. It's just really easy to like not manage a reveal card zone and. Is this sorcery only? Like, why didn't they like inscribe tablet? I'm just so confused by my opponent's lines. I think brewers get shit on by community. I mean, they definitely do. I would know. That's okay. Ugh, well, all my looters are gone. Dude, I've seen inscribed tablet bricks so many times. So we can pre-season Pyromancer next turn and put in the Atraxa in the yard. Does Contra die if they tablet? Ah, I see. That makes sense. Well, that's why I attacked them. Atraxa Tron? Well, Tron makes colorless mana, and Atraxa is like the furthest thing from colorless, but you could do some stuff. Wait, the tablet cycles if you don't pick anything? I had no idea. That's so much better than I thought it was. Either cut me off black completely. How's the Dark Souls progress been? So I had to take a break because my controller was broken. I've been prepping runs off stream, and like I just keep getting hit like right before they're ready. But I will be playing some more soon. I want to commit to it today, but there's just like no chance it still doesn't happen today. I can play like one Solitude. I don't want too many more than one. It's like the worst card in the matchup. Is Wear Tear better? I guess Wear Tear is better than Prismatic Ending. Especially because they're playing Saga. Maybe we don't play the full 4 Thoughtseize, maybe like 2. I'll do my best to play Souls later today. We'll see. We'll see. It may be better for me to take another day, though, to be honest. Might end up cycling Triumph this game. I do like having Stony on the play. I like having Atraxa as well. Okay, I thought that was going to be Chalice, which turns off the Ephemerate. Alright, well, that's one of the best draws. It's obviously nice that the Stony Silence turns off basically all the graveyard hate my opponent can play here. I'm just trying to think. I feel like for some reason I'm forgetting something. Like a Scavenger Grounds, but can they act Scavenger Grounds? Yeah, Scavenger Grounds. But they don't have it. The Asmogoria variant, I feel like there's no way to... Yeah, I think that you should play Griselbrand over Atraxa in that version. I should say, I've been saying this, I should be saying, though, that it's like... It's not that big a difference, you know what I mean? Okay, definitely these two. Only getting 3 cards. We'll get you Ephemerate. Oh, you know what? Actually, I want to have another white source, so we can take Sacred Foundry. And then I guess we take the Solitude, since there's only one in the deck. If I want it, I have to get it now. Atraxa or Archon. Well, you need Legend for Goryos, because you're also Griselbranding. You're more so like an Emrakul Goryos deck instead. But I would love to like hear from some. I know I asked this earlier. I looked and I didn't see anybody in chat that was like really saying anything. But if there is anybody who has been playing the Asmogoryos and you feel that Atraxa is better, like I would love to just hear your thought. Is it really just like you don't want to pay 7 life? Have you tried Griselbrand instead? I would love to hear from you. I take Bitter Union over Stony Silence. Kaya's Ghost Form. Yeah. I mean, there are cards you could play, but I don't know if that dress is necessarily recommended. Goryo being an instant dodge Eldrazi Tribal, yeah, for sure. I played it there close. Yeah, that's something that's important to note too. It's super close. It's super close. Is it weird Atraxa's not an artifact? Well, I mean, I watched Ristic Studies videos on Phyrexian stuff, and I guess I had like, I don't know. Surely all Phyrexians would be artifact creatures if Atraxa was supposed to be an artifact. Been playing Asmogoryos. Atraxa feels a lot better as you get the Asmo deck. You can sometimes hardcast Atraxa in ultra grindy games. Well, I mean, I don't. So, like, one thing is Atraxa is. Oh, I guess Giganta actually maybe helps you just cast Atraxa. That's. I mean, I appreciate the feedback. So Atraxa is easy to hardcast. You don't pay life and lets you play Giganta. Giganta being able to hardcast Atraxa is like actually something I hadn't considered. Oh yeah, I wouldn't have fit on the type line. But it's on a mold of 4. We're dead. You guys remember when turn 1 Eldrazi Temple was just like a sinking feeling in your stomach? I think maybe for 15 again. This is a mold of 4. Oh, this is not a Thought Seer, that's a Stone Brain. Dude, this is an above average Stony Silence against the mold of 4. White Dragon over Iconoclast and Fairies of Breach. With 4 breaches, you just grind so well. You want to be more aggressive. Yeah, so Stony, really, this is the only shell I really like Stony in, but just like 2 mana, you have no artifact hate is just such a powerful effect in this kind of deck. It's really close. I'm gonna mulligan, I'm gonna mulligan 6-2. Okay, we'll keep this on 6. Puts it on level 5. I'm going to be at Hunter Burton. I think Enchantress is a fine deck. I don't know if I would necessarily... Which one I would recommend of those 2. But Enchantress is fine. I do think I want to Grief here. I'm also going to fetch my Triome since, a tap land is better than no land, but... Do we take the pact? So much. What is going on today? I don't understand. Like today and yesterday, there's been so much Titan, and it just hadn't been popular for a week. It's just so weird. There must have been like a Discord meeting or something. According to that list, the thing from 100 burn was there was more burn than any other listed tournament. Yeah, I don't know. At least like, at the very least at these tournaments, burn isn't doing well. And like I played a bunch of RCQs locally, and I didn't really feel like burn was like super represented either. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, someone might have posted a sideboard guide or something. Yeah, maybe at SCG. That's a good point. Yeah, it's good again. Has anything changed? Well, not really. It's good again. Okay, so we're at 2 mystery cards. Okay, it's a good mystery card. Land. We're on the draw. Let's go. So if we draw another white card. That's a white card. So if I Solitude this Dryad, they can't Titan if their last card is Titan. They can Transmute for Pact, but that's okay. Because they can't even play Bog. Right? 2, yeah. They didn't copy... If they copied the Amulet first, we were kind of fucked, but they didn't. Maybe not, actually. Yeah, it's actually 2 mana to get 2 mana. Can they copy response? Well, the copying response doesn't do anything. The trigger is already on the stack. They've already played their land for turn. So they don't get their extra land from Dryad. Do you have any interest in playing Pioneer? I have a little bit, but it's just like... Modern is like... I can't believe how good Modern is. And so it's just like... I just have a hard time... I have a hard time playing other formats with Modern is like just this dynamic. I actually like can't even believe how much I've enjoyed Modern for like the last I don't know, for the last long time. So land, sorcery, planeswalker. I think I'd choose Atraxa for the creature so I can try to set up for another Goryos. So planeswalker, sorcery, land, creature. How long was Valky? Yeah, basically since Image 2. I know not everybody loves it so much, but also like lately, damn, it's just been like 1 has been like one of my favorite sets ever. I think as far as I know that a lot of people have issues with it for limited, but as far as constructed goes, I think they knocked it out of the park. Constructed Modern. Well, like your standard's good, Pioneer's getting better. Shit's just good, you know. So they should still be a mana short of Tightening next turn. I think I'm just going to Nahiri back the Grief. So there's too much mid-range grind. Yeah, I'm sure not for everybody, but I will say the people who play Standard say that they like it, and they say that it's like one of the best standards in like recent memory, which is a W for Magic. Okay, second Pact. Not as good, although it stops them from like pacting for Grazer, and then I don't have another Grief in the yard, but got some cards we can draw. Also playing Gardens and 8 key. I've thought about it. It's interesting. I haven't play tested it. It's probably something we should knock out of the park at some point. There's a lot of cards that are kind of like medium to copy, and there's a lot of cards that are like copying a key is kind of interesting. Copying Power Conduit is okay. I don't know that it solves too many problems, but it's something I need to do. But it's very cool that we're like a month post one release or like close to it. I think like a month and like 2 days or something, and I'm still testing one card. I cannot remember the last time that it took I'm like just this deep into a new set. So I've been trying a lot of different like small different changes to the sideboard today in this matchup. I think this is what I did last time. Mystic Forge copy. Yeah, I mean, is that good though? It's like 5 mana to copy Mystic Forge, and like it doesn't even do very much. Seems like Garden's Aki is a no-brainer. I don't know. Maybe it's a no-brainer, but also like the. Oh, it's a green source. It's a green source for Stirrings too. That's actually really sick. Yeah, it's a no-brainer, but like how interesting is it for the stream is really the question. Yeah, the copy is tapped too. I think it's good. I think that I actually do agree that it like almost definitely goes in, but like how different is it? How does it solve a lot of problems? That's really the question in my mind. I always forget that it taps for green though. I think this deck could be better than Esper Goryo. Yeah, I think it's a really good chance. I think that like having Priest of Felrites be a good card thanks to Reunion and Nahiri is pretty good. You can build this deck in a lot of different ways though, so this is still, in my mind, an early draft. I'm going to keep this hand actually. We have Discard Outlet, we have Reanimation Effect, we have a Solitude. This hand needs like like a white card, needs to draw like a big creature, but we're on the draw, and we have, you know, some selection too, even. Through the Breach, Atraxa, and a Hellraiser control style shell. I mean, that's just very likely too many top-end cards. Like, if you're going to play Through the Breach, Atraxa, in a control deck, that is your top-end, period. Like, you have to also play, like, Solitude, Ephemerate, and then that's 16 cards, and, like, maybe you play, like, you have to play Wall of Omens, too, to, like, facilitate your Ephemerates being good. I'm definitely, like, interested in this idea, though. I think that this idea is cool. Like, Through the Breach. I'll add it to my sticky note. I'll play test it tonight. I think there's a good chance it's, like, worth a stream. But it's also, like, you need, like, your mana is going to be a nightmare because you're playing Atraxa. Like, you need to be playing domain cards, probably. You play, like, maybe an Elish Norn. I don't know. I guess it's probably too high. What is their peak Moto hours? Like a time where most people are online? I don't really know. Okay, they're double land dropping their Journey of Discovery. People are testing this card. I will say that like every single time my opponent casts it, I just like haven't been that impressed by it. But I also haven't seen it cast that often, so maybe it's a bit better than I am giving it credit for. Okay, so we can Atraxa next turn. Yeah, Emrakul on the sideboard for Mill. Mill's still like popular enough for one at Emrakul. Mobius, 17 months, thank you. I feel like we're gonna get Endurance. It's okay though. If we draw Goryos, we can actually play around Endurance. Okay, so I think it's actually better to. If I Thoughtseize my opponent, they have Endurance. They're just gonna Endurance in response, and I don't get the Atraxa. Yeah, so let's like if they Summer's Pact for Endurance here, this is fine because now I just get to go cast a second Freel Rates and just Thoughtseize myself next turn. Brothers didn't farewell, choke standard of cool decks. But Hyperfusion card synergy's dead. Bummer. Definitely more pro synergy based standards. Let's just have Return to Ravnica Innistrad Standard be the only format. The only format. Return to Ravnica Innistrad Standard. That sounds like freaking utopia to me. If people are on Valakut to accommodate Gardens, I mean they're not. I don't know. I think that playing Journey over Dryad seems wild. I mean, this is kind of like, you know, I will say this. I'm really not the best person to talk about Titan. I don't play the deck very much at all anymore. I played less Titan than almost any other modern deck. But I will say, though, that one, like, brew lesson is that when you get a new good card like Mike and Sith Gardens, like, this card is, like, really just a really good, nice upgrade for Titan. I don't, like, making your really good cards better by playing suboptimal cards is usually a mistake. So what I'm saying is playing Journey of Discovery to make your gardens better feels like you're diminishing your deck's quality overall. Where your good cards are already good. You don't have to play, like, really, really mediocre spells to make them better. Let's go to Ephemerate this now, actually. The guy, 41 months, thank you. There's nuance there, but there's like a lot of nuance. But I think that this is like lowering your card quality to minorly upgrade the power of Mike and Sith Gardens when Dryad is just a much better spell overall. It would be my thinking. But also, you know, I encourage the testing process. This is just my thesis. Let's make Gardens better, but Dryad gets worse since the Valakutes are gone. So why run Dryads? Well, I'm saying play Dryad still. It doesn't. I surely it can't cost you that much. My opponent says it's not bad to lose against you by 5-0, which is sad. I hit him with a frowny face. They wished me luck on my next round. I'm going to continue to provide them the pain until they are ready to die. We're the draw. We can keep this. Close hand, though. I need to save more money, and I need to find, like, a good time of the year to do that, too. But I think that's what I want to do this year, at least, instead of a full trophy race like I've done in the past. Would incorporate Lily into Esper Goryo's diminish the deck too much? I mean, I think it would make your win rate lower. I think that in Esper Goryo's, Liliana the Veil is like worse than any other graveyard enabler that you could play. And I don't think it compensates with like enough of a plan B. Okay, I need to get a dual land here so I could cast a Priest to fill Rites. Got one card in their hand. Definitely some cards to blow us out. We can also draw like a Solitude and just immediately win. Not an immediate win, but not a bad draw either. So if I Nahiri this turn, I'm definitely going to get Mountain. If I Nahiri this turn, I go down to 10. I go up to 4 loyalty. I think I'm actually just going to Spyro, discard both Nahiris, and this will let me like Ephemerate the Seasoned Pyromancer, just dig really deep. Perfect. 2 hours is enough to get 1 trophy. I mean, 2 hours is like not even enough to like finish a league most of the time. Dang, they unbanned Faithless Looting. Dang, they unbanned Faithless Looting. What a great comment. Okay. Kind of a bad hit here. Actually, I only get 2 cards. So I guess I take Atraxa, Seasoned Pyromancer. So I can do this again next turn, maybe? Although the problem with that is, like, there's a really good chance my opponent has a Yawgmoth. Yeah, Griselbrand was better all along, huh? I guess I can Solitude if I take Atraxa. Yeah, I can Solitude. This is the worst Atraxa I've had. Oh, I also get a land. I get a land. Oh, sorry, I can't take both. Why am I thinking I can take both? I was thinking I could just take 2 cards. I have to take a land. I'm just like, I can take 2 cards here. Sorry, I'm gonna take Inspiring Vantage. Do I take Inspiring Vantage Grief? Yeah, I think so. I hate it. This is the worst Atraxa I've ever had. But I think their last card is a Yawgmoth. Like, they've been missing land drops. Okay. It was much worse than that, but... We are attacking them to pretty low, and we have a Solitude in our hand that we can hardcast. We have... I think we actually attack with the 1/1s. Why do we use Goryos to rebound the Ephemerate on the Atraxa instead of main phasing it? Why didn't we EOT Goryos? Why didn't we EOT? It's just way better to main phase if the upside is like incredibly high of main phasing here. Oh, I guess I'm actually gonna rebound on just discard the hand here. The Solitude like hurts to lose, but I don't know. I think like a lot of times like I take a line that like with like better variance is like just easily the correct line, and then we hit like super low end of variance. It's really easy to be like, well, why didn't we take the line that hedges against the super low end of variance? But I just don't think it makes much sense to take that kind of line here. I could be wrong. Could leave the Triome in the deck, but I'm kind of interested in maybe getting to 4 black sources. Maybe attack with this is bad, because then it turns off Ephemerate as a good draw. Yeah, we draw 3 lands per turn. Just like the worst 13 cards of your library you could possibly imagine here. I was thinking of that line beforehand. It seems smart to guarantee a permanent Atraxa. I don't know. It's like usually if you don't get to keep a permanent Atraxa, you've drawn like 4 or 5 like relevant cards, and you're also like there's also a really good chance you just hit another Ephemerate, and also like pressuring a Yawgmoth opponent's life total is really relevant. Like hitting them for 7 like matters a lot to like reduce like the ways they can draw out of this. Okay, very notably, I can't hardcast the Atraxa. Hopefully, we can find a discard outlet. I think I am actually going to attack here. The advantage of doing a main phase, hitting them, potentially like getting to do more proactive effects. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like rocket science. Okay, getting them to use the Ephemerate is a win here. Atraxa stays in play. Yeah, I know the version of like doing it on their end of turn, but I don't know. I just hitting them for 7 is I think super relevant. And this is like by far the worst Atraxa I've ever had, and I just feel okay about our spot, I guess. And then we drew 3 lands off the top in a row. I feel like the final was You hit them for 7 though. Atraxa stays in play. It says next end step. I guess I main phased Ephemerate to put the Atraxa in the graveyard. I guess is that the confusion? That turn I main phased Ephemerate to put the Atraxa in the yard. So are you guys? I thought you were saying to it on their end of turn, Goryo's the Atraxa, because that's the only line that makes any sense from your suggestion, right? But what I'm saying is like, but you don't hit them for 7. I'm confused. Okay. So you want Thoughtseize again against the Endurance Graveyard Hate, I think. Main phasing Ephemerate is fine. Main fearing Goryo seems like low upside 7 damage compared to guaranteed double Atraxa trigger perma Atraxa. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. If you think I took the wrong line, it's fine. We don't have to hammer into the dust. I think I took the right line. I think that My average, I have never seen Atraxa be close to that bad. And then I drew 3 lands off the Seasoned Pyromancer Ephemerate. It's like unbelievable how bad that was. And it's also true, like if my opponent casts Yawgmoth and they have 7 more life, there's a chance that they just play through my hand. And if they cast Yawgmoth, I am like all of a sudden on their turn Goryoing Atraxa, and then my Atraxa dies end of turn if I don't find an Ephemerate. But I don't know. It's just I don't know. We can move on. We can move on. Maybe I actually don't play Prismatic Endings against them. I just like need the Thoughtseizes to hate their endurances, and like removing the mana dorks is not that important, especially when you have Solitude Ephemerate sometimes. Sorcery Atraxa makes sense, but maybe not taking Atraxa to set the same thing in your turn. Yeah, I don't know. I really thought they had a Yawgmoth in their hand. It made so much sense. The Atraxa doesn't die though. You get the first Ephemerate rebound. I know, but I'm so. Let's just fucking move on, please. Fucking move on. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Let's move on. Deck tech around the voice privilege in the chat. I'm mulligan this in. This would be like an easy keepable 7. I think it's definitely going to be a keep on 6. The problem here is that I really want to keep Solitude White Card Ephemerate, but I just have to keep Reunion Goryo. So we just have to put back a Solitude. And so if we draw a white card, we're fine. If we draw a land, we're fine. No, we don't need to turn emote only on. Emote only mode is not moving on. It's just even exacerbating the issue. I feel like I'm like never in favor of emote only mode, to be honest. Maybe we'll take Griselbrand. Take Solitude. Well, so if they're taking Solitude, I feel like there's a really good chance that they have an Endurance. So let's go Grief, pitch Goryo. Still keep Griselbrand to discard to the Reunion. And then we can Ephemerate. What a read, huh? So you can plan to rebound Ephemerate, take the Yawgmoth. Dead. Cool. Cool. Dude, we keep top decking Grief, really, at really opportune times. Draw step Ephemerate Grief, maybe. Me too, sadness. Me too. It doesn't seem very likely, though, unfortunately. They drew an Endurance. That sucks. We draw worst possible. I remember the earlier Trex list had more evenly distributed card types. We're fine on card types. It's not maybe quite. I don't know. It's actually even. So this is the Esper Goryo's list. You have enchantments. You have so many instants in this list. You have so many instants. It's crazy. I think you're playing only 2 planeswalkers, only 2 sorceries. So this is like your types for the Esper version. There's maybe other people have this. Like I was also playing 1 tribal not of this world, and then here you have instant, enchantment, planeswalker, creature, sorcery. It's really fine. So you're like a heavier on creatures, but you have like more planeswalkers. You have like 1 more sorcery, same number of enchantments overall. Dude, they drew Yawgmoth? What in the world? Oh, but then they drew Thoughtseize. And they're going down to 5, and I could just draw Goryos and win? That's good. That's the swing, huh? Okay, that's a really good pickup for them. Okay, we're dead, actually. Great pickup for them. GG, sweetie. Prince of the Modal 6. Oh, no, so they kept 7. They kept 7. I don't know why my chat log keeps like moving away. I don't know. It just keeps like zooming away every single match all of a sudden. I really hope I don't have to like correct it every single game, but I've had to every game today, I think. So we can burn all the draw. Definitely not a super ideal spot to be. How does the Asthma version compare to this matchup wise? It's kind of hard to compare them. It's kind of hard to compare them, honestly. It's like... So, like, this is the thing about all Reanimator variants. All Reanimator variants have, like, an insane degree of, variance and, like, your sample size with both decks, with like, when you're comparing two variants has to be really high. Has to be really high before you can ever say for sure. One thing I like about these more, so like you know, this version has the Grief, Solitude, Ephemerate plan as its plan B, and that version has the Asmo package as its plan B. And I think I favor these versions, like this and the Esper version, to that version, but I think, you know, you can make a good case for either variant for sure. Alright, pretty quickly dead, huh? So I'm definitely gonna bring in the 4th pending. Nahiri cost me life. I think I can trim a priest also. Play Wear Tears, Denser Rip, and Eidolon. You said graveyard decks have to play white green to deal with graveyard. Any recommendation number answers? 4 main, 6 workable. People always look for these kind of like formulaic answers for sideboards and stuff, and I think that it's not necessarily a great way to think about it. It just like all depends. Like, it just all depends. But like, you know, in general, like you have in this deck, you have Wear Tear for Rest in Peace and Leyline. You have Prismatic Ending for Sanctifier and Rest in Peace. You have Thoughtseize for Endurance and like to some extent counter spells, but mostly for Endurance. And you have Stony Silence for like Hearse Relic, Rest in Peace. And so like with those bases covered, you're fine. But and like to some extent, it's easier to cover those bases with the Wear Tears or maybe that's not exactly the right word, but like in Esper to Fairy Time Raveler doubles as Endurance and Leyline of the Void Hate, and you also get access to Force of Negation if you want it. And so it just kind of depends, but like for the most part, like, you know, being an all-in graveyard Reanimator deck, most of your sideboard needs to be devoted to beating these cards. If that is like if your plan A is to keep this. If your plan A is being a Reanimator deck, right? Sorry, Hyper Voice. Sorry, been kind of a distracted day. Thank you for reminding me. Let me go ahead and get to that. Hellraiser Goryo. Okay, so this is something I'm always going to remind you of whenever I see a deck like this. Whenever I see a deck in Modern that's all in on the graveyard like this, that's slow, and so it's not capable of racing Rest in Peace like, you know, Dredge is able to do sometime. You've committed like a fatal deck building error that your deck is just like too soft to graveyard hate with no white or green cards to answer enchantments, to answer Sanctifier, and Vect post board. I think that this is a cardinal sin, is building these kind of decks is being super fragile to the hate cards. Like it's just a nightmare for you to beat them. So that's I guess my first thought here. I will say that like just on like a more surface level, there are some good ideas here for sure. I think that there's a lot of numbers I don't like so much, and I'll also say that a Grixis mana base with Counterspell, Terminate, Capricious Hellraiser is a nightmare. Like, look, you have 2 swamps in your Hellraiser Counterspell deck. You do have the Graven Cairns, which help you compensate for your Hellraiser, your Terminates, but they don't help you compensate for Counterspell. This is a big issue as far as your mana base goes. In general, your mana base looks a little like odd. Like you have 2 islands in your Graven Cairns deck. You can't filter the mana here. Like playing 5 basics in this kind of deck is like way above average. I would be playing like probably 10 fetch lands minimum in this style deck. Like your mana base is probably going to look like 10 fetch lands and like 10 fetchable targets or something like that. Smooth it out somewhat. But I would in general caution you against building a deck with these mana requirements and this fragility to graveyard hate, if that makes sense. And then on like another level here, like you've smushed the Hellraiser control deck, of course, with the Goryo's deck, right? But like the issue I have with smushing these 2 decks together in this manner is that when I was playing the Hellraiser control deck, I was like really happy just having Hellraiser and Typhoon be the top of my mana curve. I feel like that was a really good formula. And then when you're clunking it up by playing Griselbrand, Emrakul is also really awkward in this deck too, because you need to keep the cards in the yard. I'm gonna keep the Seasoned Pyromancer alive so I can Ephemerate it. When you're clunking it up in this manner, all of a sudden your curve is really high, and it's just not that tricky for your opponents to disrupt you at that point. Okay, I guess I can also go Grief Ephemerate, Prismatic Ending, and try to race versus dig for a reanimation spell. I think that digging for a reanimation spell is going to be the better line. I think that there's a good chance they like just bolt me here down this. If they have Lightning Bolt, I'm really screwed. Because I think I'm less likely to find a reanimation spell in time. Although maybe I should be, if I find Goryo's, I could gain the life immediately. Can also just Goryo's end of turn. Why not Grief first? Yeah, I guess Griefing first was pretty free. I'm thinking, okay, the issue with Griefing first is I have to discard both Prismatic Endings. I kind of want to keep one in the hands. But maybe I don't need to keep one in the hand. Why did you use Pyromancer to discard outlets of cheaper options? It works really well with Ephemerate, Nahiri, Priest of Fell Rites. Okay. Could have played that turn a little cleaner. So like if for first take up you need to clean up the mana. Your mana base needs to be like maybe you play 2 Xander's Lounges. You're like one of each basic, 2 Xander's Lounge. 2 Steam Vents, 1 Blood Crypt, 1 Watery Grave. I could see that formula being pretty good. And then like 10 fetch lands. Maybe you could play 1 Graven Cairns or 1. I would probably play Fire, like the blue-red filter land instead, which is also awkward with Terminate. I would play the full Force Shark Typhoon over any number of Kolaghan's Command. I wouldn't play the Emrakul. I would definitely like not play 4 Terminate. I would be interested in playing like 4 Lightning Bolts for 4 Lightning Bolt. Oh, sorry, I keep messing. Oh, I keep forgetting to like Ephemerate my Atraxa on upkeep. This is kind of a classic deck tech thing. Although it is actually better to attack with the Atraxa than to Ephemerate it this turn. For what it's worth. We only get punished by them having top decked another Skullcrack. Yeah, I would just be playing like Lightning Bolts over this. But then it's also true, like, you're very soft to the sideboard cards, and so like splashing a color is just not doable. I I would play just one Emrakul on the sideboard. I like the Ashioks a lot. I could maybe see more Ashioks. Like 3 Ashiok, no Morty-Go. Instant land enchantment. Could have ephemerate the Pyro though after casting Goryo's first. We could have, but then I guess that's fine. Yeah, that seems fine. It's not like a lot of extra value, but we get like a little bit of extra filtering. If they had Path, they would have already used it, so there's not much reason to like grief now. Although I could have grief first for like Deflecting Palm, I suppose. I don't think I need to grief here. So yeah, kind of a lot of loose thoughts. Those can give you some feedback on the direction to go. But in general, like my feedback is like if you're playing Hellraiser in these kind of decks, it just needs to be the top of your curve. I don't think you also want to play like Goryo's combo. Nord, 9 months, thank you. You've got 3 pending and 1 other card, 3 binding, cut the Triome Vantage, bring down the Triome record, Triome, once you cast Atraxa, give binding access. Yeah, we were definitely talking about that. I think that could be a fine direction to go. I don't feel super strongly about those 2 choices, and it's also true like you're cutting like the 3rd Nahiri maybe, which could be fine, but not sure. Adding recommissions, mentors, instant speed looting. Any other ideas in the pool of cards pre-synchronically? Well, you might want to consider Can't Stay Away over recommissions. You could have a multicolor card to trigger Rockerick. Other than that, I don't have any suggestions, I guess, at the moment. Yeah, you have 0 sorceries at that point. Less 0 drops, less 1 drops. It's a conversation, though. As Nahiri proves to be good. I think Nahiri is good in this deck, yeah. We haven't given haste to Priest very often today, which is like the main thought in playing it, which is interesting. I thought that would happen way more often. Get a look at this, I think. But I'm a big Nahiri fan. I think that this is something I've really seen time and again when it comes to players' evaluations of cards like Nahiri. They put so much pressure on Nahiri to be like, just like so format dominating and like just like so crazy impactful. But I think I actually need to grief here. I'm like kind of cold to Eidolon. I guess I did the wear tear, but I have to take so much damage. Yeah, they put like a lot of stake on it, but at the end of the day, it's like a synergistic 3-mana grindy card that like you need to curve into it for it to be good at any time. Just like any other 3-drop, you have to curve into it. When you curve into it, it's really good. When you don't, it's not. And I don't know. It's just my evaluation, I guess. Ephemerate on top. Well, give me those griefs back, I guess. It's been in Hammer. I think the Nahiri's really bad in Hammer because you don't want like a grindy 3-drop. People who are saying Nahiri and Hammer never made any sense to me because like you just don't want to play this kind of card in Hammer. Yeah, but yeah, Modern is definitely a format where you can play. Like your grindy 3-drops are fine. Fable's really good. Spyro's good. Nahiri's good. With not needing haste for Priest, is the Triome binding package better and not being able to cast Atraxa? Well, I think that like I think you do need to have haste for Priest to be good. Like having 7 haste effects for Priest I think is really relevant. I feel like it's more so that we just like haven't drawn Priest very often that I'm feeling this way rather than like the haste on the Nahiri has not been very good. We just haven't had like we've had a below average number of Priest draws in a deck playing 4 Priest. Yeah, but I agree being able to hardcast Atraxa is like a really relevant point. I am on board with that. I'm excited for the Atraxas through the Breach deck. I think that's a good idea. I'll be working on that tonight for sure. Is there a world where it's like, could be absent for Tyvar and Grizzly Savage? I don't really... I think Nahiri is so... This is, like, one thing that's really interesting. It's like, Tyvar is, like, a better card than Nahiri overall, right? And people recognize that Tyvar plays well with Priest of Fell Rites. And they're like, oh, Tyvar should fit in this shell. But Nahiri is, like, so much better than Tyvar in this deck. Because it's, like, it's also a looter. It has more loyalty. It pitches the Solitude. I guess Tyvar pitches the Grief, but it pitches the Solitude. It's card advantage when you're Hellbent. It's card filtering in, like, your clunky deck. And they also both bring back Priest and give it haste. Tyvar's a little bit different. In Mills 3, you can cast a Priest from your hand, sure. But, like, I think it's, like, hard to argue that Nahiri is not better than Tyvar in this shell. Also, like, red is, like, I think in general better than green as far as, like, cards you get access to. We're gonna have a hard time winning this game, huh? Why not both? I mean, I don't know. Do I really need to answer that? Like, you're really limited to the number of, like, Planeswalkers you get to play. You could play both, but it would probably be a different kind of deck. Dice Factory with Megasith Gardens. We were talking about that. I think Gardens should be played in the deck. I think that it's, like... I think that they'll be good, but I haven't play tested it. I don't think the deck's going to be much different with them either. Yeah, I've been working on Tyvar Dothi Voidwalker. We can maybe take a little pivot here.